here we are. All right, welcome to Vancouver. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and moderate this panel. Again, my name is Gabe. I'm with Operation Bitcoin, and our mission is to bring Bitcoin education to military veterans. So I'm not going to cover too much about what my node is doing. I really want to have an opportunity for us to highlight what these nodes are doing. And so that's what we're going to focus our discussion on. Hopefully we'll have a moment for a little bit of Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, don't be shy. Go ahead and throw them out there, and we'll go ahead and make this as valuable as possible. So let's start with, we'll just go down the line. JP, why don't you tell us a little bit about your node? Just give us a quick introduction, and then we'll dig a little bit more into that as we go. Here you go.
Perfect. So what drove me to start the node network is I've always felt like I was getting so much from Bitcoin, and I was struggling to find ways to give back. Like, I'm not a software developer to contribute to the open source. I'm an engineer. I figured out how to run a node. I part of the Node Academy. I've been to the BitDevs here in Vancouver. I love this so much, but I was always, how can I give back? How can I contribute to the network in a meaningful way? So I started with my wife and some friends. We're going to open a coffee shop where we live about an hour east from here. And we want to make it like a Bitcoin education center to get people to come there, to ask questions and be prepared to answer. It was actually 1 year ago after the Learning Bitcoin conference when the Bull Bitcoin mission team approached me. You want to help with the workshops. I was a little bit nervous. I never been in a conference except like listening to people. And when I participated in the workshop, it was super incredible. Like, I got so much back to explain how the transaction works, how people write the transaction, sign with the private key, put it in the mempool. And people were asking questions about mining, what's happening, what's the mempool, what's a block. And I love just teaching that when I finished that conference, I saw that there were some people from my first Bitcoin. Right away, I put my node application. Like, they have figured out a way to teach Bitcoin to the masses, and I want to tap into their program and help spread the Bitcoin to my community and local. So I've been a light node for about more like 6 months. I've created a website called btclearn.org. It's an open source website, and I try to collect like somebody that wants to learn what are the top resources. There is so much on Bitcoin alone, plus all the scams and all the shitcoins and all the stuff, that I wanted to make sure people have a place that at least I called my recommendations, but it's open source that people can contribute, give ideas, give links, and it's just to help education with that. And I'm planning to do the Bitcoin diploma when we open the coffee shop in the Port Moody area. It's about an hour east of here. Cool. So thank you.
All right, thanks. Go ahead and give us an introduction, and just tell us a little bit about your node and maybe what inspired you to apply and to become a node with Me Premier Bitcoin.
Sure, yeah. So I think with finding Bitcoin, there's usually a problem that you see, and Bitcoin solves it. So I'm a public health professor, and I probably won't go into the complexities of being a public health professor during a pandemic. And essentially it led me to Bitcoin because of all of the just socioeconomic problems that we saw. And essentially I stepped down from my full-time role to see how can I be part of this growing Bitcoin ecosystem. And, you know, being an educator, naturally I decided to create a educational platform. And I applied to be a node, and also work with BTC Sessions Bitcoin Mentor as well. And so we're able to help beginners with one-on-one self-custody solutions. And so really I see DreamGrad as being this platform for a range of services for beginners. In terms of the light node itself, the major thing that I'm struggling with as a new node, as many of you I think mentioned, is how do you get people to first be interested to even receive the education? But luckily, I do have a colleague who's out in Quebec, and she's orange-pilled her community. So hopefully in the fall, we'll be doing a diploma offering for an indigenous community in Quebec. So I'm really here to learn of best practices, of delivering the diploma, and then hopefully identifying additional communities from there. I'm trying to rope in students as well. And so any best practices around that and how to get students interested. I actually am bringing our student from McMaster will be at Learning Bitcoin. So I'm very excited about that. And they'll actually potentially be coming here as well towards the end. I really believe it's going to be our youth that helps to drive adoption. So.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Ronald, go ahead and give us the rundown.
All right. So I'm Ronald, and I am in no way an educator. However, I have been fortunate to work in the Bitcoin space for a long time, and I'm very passionate about it. And when our son was 10, I noticed a big gap in some of the education that he was receiving, even though it's a private school and great academics and rigor, that, they have not a lot of Bitcoin centric or even Bitcoin adjacent education. And I saw that as a gap. And so I actually sought out, educational resources, and I met Dahlia Platt, who had worked on a lot of this stuff and had this initial Spanish language book. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I've been looking for. My son goes to BizTown, where they learn how to use credit cards and they learn how to open up a checking account and debt. This is like anathema. This is not what I want him to be learning from a financial literacy perspective. So when that first English language book came out, I jumped on it. I'm like, okay, my wife is a teacher. I have access to a school. I have a kid. I have all the justification in the world. I just have no educational experience at all. And I went to the principal, like, I want to do an after-school club. And they're like, yeah, sure, we could always use another club. I'm like, okay, it's about Bitcoin. I'm like, that's weird, but whatever. Volunteer is volunteer. And so I learned a lot that first year, and this is now going to be my 4th cohort. And it's been an incredible experience, being able to open the eyes from middle school all the way up now through adults as to what it is that's the real threat through debt and compound interest being used as a weapon against you and inflation used against us. And it's been a wild adventure.
That's excellent. Yeah, thank you everybody for that intro and for sharing your insights so far. Let's just start at that end and then come on back down. What would you say have been some of the main challenges that you have confronted as a node, as a light node within the network, and how have you overcome those challenges when it comes to bringing Bitcoin education to people?
Yeah, so I think the number one challenge is, in my experience, being like a after-school kind of club where the kids have a lot of competing interests for their time. As you stand up there during their club pitch thing and you're explaining that this is about Bitcoin and economics, and there's crickets in the room, and no one wants to sign up for an after-school class where they learn economics. And it took some time to really build that critical momentum where the students who did, those suckers, volunteer to listen to this nerd talk about economics and try to learn how to make it fun, right? And then they were talking with their classmates and well, I showed up for class, I got Bitcoin. And the only touch point that their classmates have for Bitcoin is, oh, it's so many hundreds or whatever thousands of dollars. And he gave you Bitcoin? And then that got more interest. Of course, they're only getting 100 sats for showing up for class, but it's Bitcoin. And in their language, that just means a lot of money. And that's how you start to get them at least interested. And then at that point, it starts to snowball. But it's tough going, right? These are kids, and they have sometimes short attention spans. They have, weird schedules. They don't want to learn, right? They want to just play games. So you bring some of these cool Bitcoin games that people here have developed, and then they show up for class well, we don't want to do the workbook. We just want to play a game. So classroom management, again, not a teacher, so that was something I got to learn on the fly. And I think classroom management and then engaging students, convincing them that this is a fun and interesting topic.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned my greatest challenge is just getting people interested, and I think you mentioned that as well too. And I find I literally have gone to shopping malls. You guys know Gabe Palma, right? He's from London, Ontario, and he would go across Ontario and give out free sats, and him and I would just walk around and say, "Hey, would you like to learn how to save in a better way?" People would look at us and walk away. So we've done like on the ground kind of outreach. I've found the best thing is kind of maybe through your own social network. Potentially, people trust you more. So I find that's maybe a way, but I still am very challenged by getting people interested in learning about Bitcoin. So any ideas, I am all for it.
Yeah, mine is very, very similar. At the beginning, I was like, okay, I have all the information. I'm going to build a cohort, but I'm not a natural person that it's good in sales and convincing people, come, sit down, let's get this training that I'm able to provide you all the information. So it was a little bit challenging to figure out like how I'm going to follow the curriculum as it is. But then I realized it's open source at the end. It's a guideline that if I'm good at, let's say, in my case, in the business that we run, we've been to the Bitcoin meetups, we've been to the block parties, and I became good with using BTC Pay for merchants. And I see a big gap that a lot of merchants accept custodial solutions that are easy and simple, but they're still custodial. And there is so many great tools, like with BTC Pay, that you can do your own, or with the SUS that you can run your own node on your phone and use a POS. So I approach my first Bitcoin and I say like, look, I think all the nodes on the network could benefit from getting access to a BTC Pay shop that they can take donations, they can onboard. Like I've been very successful at onboarding not people but businesses because they have a website. I build a website that looks like their website but on BTC Pay, and I say like, look, you're ready to accept. You don't need to apply for a bank. You don't need to apply for Shopify. You're ready. You're ready to start accepting tomorrow. And that has been kind of like it's deviating from the curriculum of my first Bitcoin, but I'm trying to work with my first Bitcoin to bring the tools that I'm good at and I can teach others to support. So I would love to, when we have the shop, to start doing the curriculum and all that, but in the meantime, I've been trying to find what I'm good at and try to give to the network.
Maybe something that somebody shared with you, but what's a lesson that you have learned that has made it more possible for you to be an educator?
In my personal experience, I make myself people know that, yes, I'm the Bitcoin guy. If you have any questions, come to me. But approaching somebody cold and try to pitch Bitcoin to them, it's hard. But if you make yourself available, once they come to you when they're curious, then they're ready to listen and go in the rabbit hole, and you give them resources and they go deep and they figure it out. So that to me has been one of the most effective ways. But also, instead of giving them a lot of the theory and stuff like that, it's like, just download your wallet. I'm going to send you $5 worth of value. Now you have it in your phone, and at least that gives them, it's way easier than what we expected. So that is really kind of like the tricks that I found to be more efficient.
It's pretty helpful when you give somebody a little piece of the most sound money that's ever existed. It tends to get their attention. I've noticed that as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons is a realization that we are indeed Bitcoin, like each and every one of us. And your message, while it may not seem like it's hitting people, they are listening to some extent. This is what I tell myself. Because I believe that the messaging probably goes into their subconscious, and then they'll listen to the media, and then they'll hear Bitcoin, and then eventually something will click. So I think it's just understanding that this is more than ourselves, and we are the nodes in the network, and we all have something to share. I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned.
Yeah, so I think there were two events really that helped me to realize how this messaging works. And one was when our son was young, he always earned a commission in Bitcoin and sats on a Lightning wallet. His whole life he's earned that. So he's got a little bit of a nest egg, and when he would
Latin America, Africa, Europe, everywhere in the world. And you get to discuss topics that otherwise would be an audience that it's hard to get to. And I think Arnold wants to do it in this format for the next AGMs, that it's topic that people in the room or in the meeting want to talk about. So my advice is you don't need to be an educator or understand or think that you have a plan already to get started. It's more you are tapping into a network of great resources that listen and think like you. And at the end, I don't know if you guys feel the same, but every time I go to a Bitcoin meetup or a Bitcoin event, you feel the energy in the room. Mm-hmm. This is how you feel being part of my first Bitcoin on those AGMs. So it's great to be able to have a much bigger network that is not just in your city, but like worldwide.
You're not alone.
You're not alone, exactly. And we all struggle, and we talk about our struggles every AGM. We do first like news, and then the second half of the AGM is topics. And most of the topics is like, how can we struggle to get more students? How can we improve? How can we have better tools? And my first Bitcoin is nonstop giving, like last AGM, for example, they created like a ChatGPT agent trained on my first Bitcoin content. That is awesome that we can share to people. It's like, that's exactly the kind of tools that you get access to by being part of the network.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, and that is the real power of being a part of the Node network, is being able to learn from one another, from the other node operators. And everybody there is so completely open with their knowledge and with their experience that the value there is just immeasurable. So great. Thank you for sharing that. Now we'll go ahead and open up for questions. So go ahead and fire away. Don't be shy. Do we need to pass the mic around, or are we good? Just going to holler it out. Okay. Go ahead. Who has questions? Fire away. Go ahead.
I have a question for Emma. You said that you had been integrating Bitcoin into your classroom, like nursing. I teach writing, so it's easier for me because I can just give an assignment or something like that. How are you doing that?
So it's general public health, and yeah, we do have nurses, we have physicians, interdisciplinary. I've done it through various ways, like, in public health in Canada, there's a lot of discourse around economic inequality. So we talk about that, and I just throw out Bitcoin, and they're all like, what does that have to do with it? And kind of break it down. And then there's conversations. Also, I have students coming to me as well too. They're like, I'm interested in crypto and health. Okay, let's talk about that word crypto and distinguish it from Bitcoin. And I use the diploma actually to describe some of the important elements as well. So it's just finding ways in like discussion-based courses, and I think throwing it out in ways in which students may not normally think about it is intriguing. And extracting information, again, open source, we kind of can use the diploma resources to fit like the community learning needs, and that's been very helpful.
Well done.
Excellent. Great question. Okay. In the back?
JP, I don't know if you already said it. Can you tell us about your
Yeah, we've been working on this for like the last 2 years. We've been to the block parties. We've been to some farmers markets. We have a little shop that we apply. It's at the Village Hub in a small village east of here called Anmore with like 3,000 residents. So it's perfect because it's a small community that everybody knows each other really well. And we got the approval earlier this year we won the bid for the spot, but we've been stuck with the bureaucracy, with the permits, and hopefully we can get the construction permit by the end of September maybe, and have something open maybe by Halloween or something like that. But yeah, we're very excited. Can't wait.
When you guys are talking about the node network, what exactly are you talking
Yeah, so my first Bitcoin is a collection of educators, and we've broken it down into like two groups, and we reuse from Bitcoin parlance, right? So you got light nodes and full nodes. And a light node, you just apply to be an educator. You agree to some of our basic, tenets, I guess you'd call it. And, no shilling altcoins and whatnot. And the existing full nodes vote on accepting new entrants. And then as part of the node network, you receive more support. So the education's all free. You can download the PDF off GitHub today, right? And start teaching it in your own school or in your own house, however you want to do that. But to really fully leverage it, you can have the advantage of meeting like-minded people every month, and we have an app, right, like a whole platform that helps connect educators who are teaching the curriculum with PowerPoints, accessory things, these conversations we've talked about. And then we have full nodes, which are like voting nodes that have a little bit more responsibility within the organization. Still volunteers and open source kinds of people, and that's all public. There's nothing super private about it. It's not exclusive. It's just kind of a way to vet and ensure that the organization grows at a reasonable rate, doesn't explode out of control. Is that Gabe?
Yeah, great answer. Yeah, and it's you can hop on the website, Me Premier Bitcoin's website, and there's a map of all the nodes that exist in the world. And there are nodes that are operating. The majority of them are operating physically. Teaching people based on where they're geographically located. And there's also an online program now as well that several of the nodes are delivering education through. But yeah, it's the strength in the network is it's unreal, and it's growing all the time. We have applications that are coming in. Every month we're voting on new applications that are coming in around the planet. So yeah, great question.
And it's free. It's not like you don't have a membership due or anything.
All right. Any other questions? Go ahead.
So I find farmers markets a really good place to convert people, like the merchants there. But I get stuck at one point. So I always offer to pay them in Bitcoin. And I always notice that people listed are the ones more interested in the guy I'm selling to. Like the guy next to me who said, I never thought I'd hear that in my life. And then you have a conversation with him. But I get stuck here because I always say, download this Lightning wallet now. And I'll send you 20% more in a payment for what I'm buying from you. And that's where I either lose them or I get them, because then they say they think I'm putting something on their phone that's bad. And so, do you have a better way of this kind of street style marketing?
Tips, anyone?
Yeah, we do a little bit the opposite. We actually take a discount for sats. So we show to the people that are coming to the farmers market is like, if you pay me in Bitcoin, I'll give you 10% discount on the other side. Yeah, but yeah, orange peel and the merchants. I've thought about kind of like what Leo does with the envelopes, but give them like bolt cards that come with a QR code with an education in the research at the back. Like maybe don't take my payment, but take this, scan this QR code when you have time, and try yourself. I think in the farm, as a merchant, you feel like there is a rush, trying to understand that at the instant, it might not be the right place, but giving them a little bit for them to take home and do the homework might be beneficial at the end. And you're a recurrent customer there, so maybe next time they'll be more open to accept Bitcoin from you.
So in Portland, a gentleman from our BitDevs, we did a orange pill event a few years back, and he had built a point of sale system, and his approach at least was to approach the merchants after hours, right, and say, listen, this is something you could just set up here and you can accept Bitcoin. And if you do that, we'll promote it at our Bitcoin meetup, and our Bitcoiners will come and spend sats there. And we actually had a big event with food carts and some performance and some kind of like a farmer's market, stuff for sale. We had a lot of good traction, street traction, people coming in, paying in sats, and it was really exciting. I think ultimately we lost a lot of our momentum through it. I think there was too much friction for going back to fiat for them to really stick with it. So I think that's still something that's kind of open. I mean, you could generate a lot of hype, and I think that's a good idea, like offering to pay a little bit more in sats to buy something, but it might be the wrong time, right? If it's a farmer's market, it's busy, then they're kind of annoyed that you're taking up their, venue space for 20% more.
Yeah, I have two examples. So one, I was at a local festival. This lady was making like homemade drinks. And again, it's the timing issue. She was very busy. And so can I have your email? And she just gave me her card and I just followed up with her. So that could be an option. Another one, it was actually with Gabe Palma. And we went to a convenience store and we asked if he knew anything about Bitcoin, would he accept Bitcoin? And he had a little bit of time, and we used a Coinos wallet, and he downloaded it on his phone, and Gabe sent him like $5 worth of Bitcoin. So it's sometimes just the timing and the receptivity of the person as well too.
Yeah, good tips. Something that has led to some success in that area for me is if you have an address for the merchant, if they have a physical location, that makes it a whole lot easier. Then I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bitcoin Rocks. They've got a website. I'm not sure if they still do this, but I mean, I have a spreadsheet of all the local businesses that I would like to have start accepting Bitcoin, which is basically all of them. And I punch their addresses into Bitcoin Rocks, and they get this mysterious mail that tells them why they should start accepting Bitcoin. And then, inception style, I'll swing by and, hey guys, how's it going? And I'll go to pay for whatever goods or services. And I'm like, you guys accept Bitcoin yet? And they're like, no, but I got this thing in the mail the other day. It's really weird that you ask. And they're like, well, how do I do? And sometimes they're ready to have the conversation, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they figure me out, and they're like, you think you're clever. But that definitely gets the conversation going with them. And then, I'll tell some of my local friends, like, hey, you need to go ask them if they accept Bitcoin yet. And so it kind of has a little bit more of a long game approach to it, but it's working. And so the more, and then, they go to their own little meetings with each other, and they're like, yeah, did you get that weird Bitcoin? So the conversation is going. I'm not sure if Bitcoin Rock still does that, but yeah, it's kind of a fun way to go about it. Oh, yeah. And they've got the yard signs, too. You can put them up all over the place. I like to find places and put them there where I know it's going to be a fun experience. I put one up on Jekyll Island in front of the building where they had the meeting. But I live in Georgia, so that was a fun experience. But, yeah, check out the website. And, again, I think that the website kind of intends for you to put in your own address, and then you get the stuff, and then you pass it out. But I kind of like to, take that other approach with it. It's more fun that way. I think we got to get close to wrapping it up. We'll take one more question.
I was wondering if any of you have ever approached any chambers of commerce in your local communities and taken that approach before? I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but it would be a possible way to get into the business community or the local community.
I agree. Has anyone in here done that? Approached their local chamber of commerce? Right.
The closest I've gotten is reaching out to my local MP to tell me what their Bitcoin position is. Heard nothing.
Yeah, I'm cultivating that field right now. I'm already engaged with a lot of the members of the Chamber of Commerce, and I have my fiat business is associated with the local Chamber of Commerce, and they all know what I'm doing now. And so they're starting to come to me and say, "What's up with this Bitcoin thing that you're doing now?" Because I'm pretty loud about it in my town, and they know. They see me out there putting up the yard signs everywhere, and they're like, "What the hell, man?" But they're starting to come to me, and I think that probably a lot of us in this room are experiencing that too. that, I mean, with everything in the press, everything that's happening, it's obviously not going away. I think that we're going to continue seeing that. And so that's when we don't say, meh, have fun staying poor, loser. You missed your you know, that's when we need to still be receptive and share that. It's like, well, look who's here. Gradually, then suddenly, exactly. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Is it time for lunch? Okay, we're going to go ahead and break for lunch. Keep your eye on the schedule so we can stay on track. But thank you, everybody. Let's give them a round of applause. Nice job, everybody. All right, let's eat.